So let's have a look at some key differentials that we should be considering when we assess our patient. As we've already said, we need to remember that whilst diverticulitis most commonly affects the sigmoid colon, it can actually occur at any point along the colon length. And therefore, we should consider it as a differential diagnosis in any patient with any abdominal pain. However, let's divide the abdomen into 3 parts and consider the differentials based on this. So, we have the epigastrium and the upper abdomen, the right iliac fossa, and the left iliac fossa. The key differentials in the upper abdomen and epigastrium include acute or chronic pancreatitis, acute cholecystitis or biliary colic, and gastritis or peptic ulcer disease, which may or may not have perforated. Now looking at the differentials in the right iliac fossa, well, obviously, we need to consider appendicitis, but also we have urinary tract infections, terminal ileitis as part of inflammatory bowel disease, perforated cecal malignancy, pelvic inflammatory disease and other gynae pathology, and also, really importantly, in any woman of childbearing age, we always have to consider an ectopic pregnancy. In terms of the main differentials for left iliac fossa pain, they are, as was the case in the right iliac fossa, urinary tract infections, pelvic inflammatory disease or other gynae pathology. Severe constipation is an important non-surgical cause of left iliac fossa pain, and also ectopic pregnancy. However, in older patients and those with cardiovascular disease, we also need to consider ischemic colitis, which most commonly affects the left side of the colon. And additionally, it's really important that in any older patient with left iliac fossa pain, we always have in the back of our mind that they may have a ruptured or expanding abdominal aortic aneurysm. Another important differential diagnosis to consider is a tumour of the colon. And this is especially the case in older patients.